Hiya.
Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. Good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you so much for joining us for our session on culture and connection with my esteemed guest, the acclaimed actor and humanitarian, Djimon Hounsou. During this session, Djimon will reflect on the experience of the African diaspora and the importance of cultural reconnection. My guest doesn't need a lot of introduction, but I'll share a little bit about him. So Djimon was born in Benin, West Africa, and moved to Paris at the age of 13 to pursue a Western education. As an adult, he was discovered by fashion designer Thierry Mugler and subsequently modeled for and appeared in several iconic music videos for legendary photographer, Ritz, and director David Fincher. Small film roles followed before Hounsou's breakthrough performance as Sink, the African who leads an uprising to regain his freedom in Steven Spielberg's Amistad in 1997. Hounsou earned a Golden Globe nomination and an NAACP Image Award for the part. He later shared a SAG Award nomination as a member of the cast of Ridley Scott's Academy Award-winning Best Picture Gladiator. In 2006, Hounsou received an NAACP Image Award, a National Board of Review citation, and a Screen Actors Guild Award nomination for his role as a forced laborer who discovers a rare gem in Blood Diamond, starring Leonardo DiCaprio. He then went and did a lot of fabulous things. And then on December 2nd, 2019, the International Day for the Abolition of Slavery, Hounsou announced the formation of the Djimon Hounsou Foundation at the United Nations in New York City. Hounsou's nonprofit, which is based in California, aims to reconnect the African diaspora with the motherland and combat modern-day slavery and human trafficking. Please, a round of applause for my esteemed guest.
Thank you.
Thank you, Djimon.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Yes.
So this is supposed to be a very vibrant discussion.
Vibrant?
Yeah, no pressure at all. So Djimon, I'm just going to
Yes.
dive right into it, right? So why is this work very important to you? And what are some of the initiatives that you're working on to reconnect the African diaspora with the motherland and to combat modern-day slavery and human trafficking?
Well, in 2019, I came up with this conceptual idea that our people need to be unified. And of course, the inspiration came as a result of making this film produced by Debbie Allen, directed and produced by Steven Spielberg, called Amistad. And that film and the work I had to do in terms of as an actor to research that time period and all of that really opened up my mind and created tremendous awareness about the history of my country, the history of the continent of Africa, and the history of the African diaspora as well. And so as a result of that, for many years, I have felt this tremendous void being in California, pursuing acting. And over the years, you know, I've been traveling back and forth to Benin Republic, where I was born, and came to realize that the gate of return, where millions of enslaved Africans were taken across the Atlantic Ocean during the transatlantic slave trade. And so that was the one thing that really, you know, inspired me to create to start my foundation. And the foundation is really to trying to bring some level of reconciliation with the African diaspora, and also to bring about healing. Because obviously I realized that being in America, there's intergenerational trauma that still linger among us to a point where we're afraid to tackle or the discussion of slavery or the discussion of how African Americans landed here. They are not migrants. They're forced. This is a forced migration of of, uh, of, of our brothers and sisters, and through that, during 2020, we were all confined. And during that time, I had, a year at home to sort of like really cultivate the idea of reconnecting the diaspora to its roots. And so I eventually realized that I had to start this foundation, and the initiative of the foundation, I have to start it here in America. And Richmond, Virginia became the cradle. It is the cradle of history, American history in a way. It is the cradle of the, what do you call it, the Jim Crow era. And so I realized that in order to change the triangle of the slave trade, which I'm trying to follow those three strategic points of the triangle, which is Richmond, Virginia, which hosted the first enslaved Africans arriving in British North America during that time. And then the second leg is UK, Liverpool, and the third leg is the west coast of Africa. And so the idea of doing Run Richmond 1619 became alive. And so this is our fourth edition of the event. Yeah, it's been great so far.
Wow, amazing. I feel like I'm going through a history class right now.
Yeah, right.
So thank you so much for really just giving us the history for us to understand where the inspiration came from and why this work is deeply meaningful to you. So you've talked about the figures in the past who've inspired you to do this work, right? And throughout your career, you've really done a tremendous job portraying powerful figures from Africa and the diaspora. So what role do you believe storytelling plays in the fight for freedom and restoring dignity, and even the healing that you're talking about?
Huge role. Huge role. You can't speak of, first of all, I think we all need to look at one thing. History is the lens we use to see into the future. And so our future depends on how we honor the past and learn from it. And so this idea of Africa Reconnect was born out a result of from that, And so, yeah, it's vital to remember where we come from. As my mother used to say, if you walk out of this room and you get lost, at least remember where you come from. And so what we're trying to achieve is to turn remembrance into reconciliation and healing.
That's really, really powerful. Remember where you come from
Yes.
and draw inspiration from that. That's
Yes.
really, really powerful. Thank you so much for sharing that. Djimon, just listening to you talk, I can feel the heaviness of this work just through you sharing. So this is a lot of hard work. It takes a lot, both mentally and physically, to be able to do this work, because you also have to face the history.
Emotional as well. It's a lot of emotional work that goes into it, and some of it is painful to readdress. It's painful to look at, but history is not meant to, I guess. History is not for meant to please us in some comforting way. It's there for us to, like I said, history is the lens that we use to see into the future. And without that, it's inevitable that we're about to repeat the same history again. Because if you forget where you come from, you're sure about to get lost.
Absolutely. I completely agree with you. During my conversations with President Obasanjo, most of the time he always reinforced the importance of us sticking to the history. And I think that most of the issues that we are facing today is because we ignore our history. And if you ignore the history of the younger generation coming in, they're not really taught history in a language that they do understand and in the context that in which it happened, then it's bound for the same to repeat itself.
But also, as you say, the youth of the continent need to be inspired, right? And of course, you know, America is the number one country that knows how to use this universal instrument to tell its story. And in a way, they have used that instrument to permeate and do a number of propaganda about their own country, right? And in a way that we, wherever you come from, you look at America as the land, the dreamland to reach. And so that same instrument we need to use to tell our stories in a way that is going to, because this is like the information age.
Yeah.
And so how are we to uplift the spirit of the youth if we're not creating digital content and digital information, right? And so I think that part of it is for us to understand the importance of counting our stories and telling our stories so that we're not waiting for someone else to come and tell you who you are and where you come from.
Thank you so much for sharing that and also for bringing in the youth from the continent, because our continent is the most youthful continent with a median age of 19. So
and
we
they're
have a lot
always searching to cross over to Europe. They're always, looking to, thinking that Europe is the destination, for them to better their life. And meanwhile, everything and the rest of the world is basically looking towards Africa to better itself and to resource itself. So it's important that we encourage the youth and we, give a chance for the youth to see that they can realize their own dreams within the continent, not outside of the continent. So I'm the perfect example of one of those kids who left at a very young age. I left Benin when I was 12 years old and went to France, where I received most of my education. And then early on, 22, 23 years old, I saw the opportunity to reach the States. And so obviously, inevitably, early on, my dream was to make movies. Very young age, it was to make movies. I just didn't know how I was going to proceed, how I was going to get to that. But I quickly realized that I did not have, the platform was not available for me in France to realize that dream. So quickly, when because of Thierry Mugler, when I was taken to the States to finish his campaign that I was doing at the time, I discovered Hollywood. And Hollywood shocked me in so many ways, but at the same time, it really, really catered to my dream at the time. Yeah.
Fantastic. So everything that you shared, this is hard work, right? And it's hard work that takes time.
Takes time.
Yeah, definitely takes time. So what does success look like for you in this work?
Well, success would be a way for the continent to recognize itself, to recognize its power. You see? This initiative, the way I look at it, if you're running around and traveling from continent to continent, if you get to Japan and you see a zebra in a zoo in Japan, that zebra is an African zebra. there's no zebra that comes from, any place else other than Africa. And so given that, what I'm hoping to achieve with Africa Reconnect series is to be able to reimagine the triangle of slave trade and reimagine that triangle of slave trade into a triangle of hope.
Wow.
And for the African diaspora to recognize its source, its historical heritage, its roots. And from that moment, I think we will become a little better, and we will potentially begin to bring about healing, this intergenerational healing that is still crippling African American. It is that.
Wow. This is really deep. I think talking about the reimagining of the triangle of slavery into triangle of hope, that is really, really powerful. And I think even given the context of everything that's happening in our world today and how polarized it is, hope is really, really important to inspire people and to keep them going. So I really appreciate the work that you're doing. I know we're running out of time, but I'm just going to have one question from the audience for you. Which story from the diaspora do you wish more people knew?
Which story of the diaspora that I wish people knew?
Yeah.
If I want to talk about people, let's just limit it to this environment. And I wish people, African American, knew their historical roots and the historical footprints of our ancestors on this land. African American history is American history. You cannot dissociate. You cannot separate the two. And we have a shared history. The one who committed the crime and the victims, we are all in this sort of like a cocoon to exist. And this day today, we need to find ways to understand one another and with maybe some level of respect, some level of understanding, but it would serve greatly. And this is a young country. This is the new country, the new world that was created by so many of us coming from so many places. You have Irish Americans, you have French American, you have Indian Americans, and you name it. So the African Americans do need to understand their historical origin. And with that, I think they can understand why they play music. We play music the way we play music here. I choose music because music, of course, when you think about it, you couldn't speak of American music without addressing and acknowledging the impact that Africa has and African Americans, with their, sort of like historical roots have influenced music across the world, period,
Thank you so much. I know you talk about the music and how our music, piano and Afrobeats, just like literally everywhere. And it doesn't matter who is in the room.
Well, that took time to exist also in America, Now it's only in the past maybe 5 to 10 years that Afrobeat is having, some serious impact in America. But before, some of that music, 20, 30 years ago, if you were playing for example, Fela Kuti in a car, you close all the doors so people don't look at you in a funny way, But now, today, you play Fela Kuti with the windows down and blasting the music, and people are connected,
Thank you. We should keep blasting that music with our windows down. So Djimon, I'm really enjoying our conversation, and I'm pretty sure our audience is too. And I'm learning a lot just from this conversation. But I wish we had the whole day because there's still a lot to unpack.
Oh, there's so much to be said about
exactly.
My foundation. There's so much to be said about the history of this country. And I think Americans need to own their history. I'm not speaking about just African American, I'm talking in a general sense. America needs to honor. You're such a beautiful and amazing, inspiring country to the world. You're the youngest country, and it would serve greatly to embrace your history, regardless of how we feel about it, regardless of, yeah, yeah, it would serve greatly.
Thank you for that reminder. So just to wind up our session, so at Concordia, we have everybody in the room, right? Yes. We have the private sector, we have multilateral, we have government, we have civil society, we have young people. Mm-hmm. So how can they be involved in this noble work that you're championing? And basically what I'm asking, what is your call to action? Because you need to get all these people to work.
My real call to action is not so much my foundation. It's really the idea of being at the forefront of telling your story, because I think we would bring tremendous healing to African people within the continent of Africa and also its diaspora if we're able to have a machine that, a platform that distributes our content as we create content. We need to be able to use this universal instrument to tell our stories and to collaborate with the international platforms that exist already. We don't need to reinvent the wheels. It's already been created. We just have to create one for the continent that is self-sufficient for the African people and its diaspora.
Thank you so much. And thank you for reminding us the importance of telling our stories in our authentic voices to inspire hope, but also spark action and collaboration, which is very, very important. Ladies and gentlemen, this comes to the end of our fireside chat. As I said, I wish we had a whole day because there is so much to learn from this incredible guest that I have here with me. So please put your hands together for my esteemed guest, Djimon Hounsou. And Djimon, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. Thank you.